today, I think we are representing about probably a third of the total number of people related to the project. And so it is very difficult to share documents, share information, share things in general. What we thought that this is another tool that can help us in doing this. It can help us in also not only having information, but also adding information, putting ourselves into the system and work on the information. And then there is the first two are totally public, and then the third one is the FTP, which is the central repository with all the documents from the SimulPast. Every single one of you, every single one of the 80 plus people related to the project have a password, can access, everything is in there, okay? And again, that's fundamental. Please use these tools. We know that a lot of you are using them. We also know that a lot of you are not. That's quite easy to check this. And so again, I'm, push you in taking advantage as much as you can of all these tools that has been put into work from the project side. Now, what to do to keep going, to push our willingness to do things together and to develop more and more from our thematic cluster this vision. Well, from the coordination side, there is this proposal to organize 3 small conferences that will focus, the hardcore part of the conferences will be the people coming out from the project, but it will be a chance to invite people from all over the world, from the international scene, working on that subject so that we can have better feedback and good discussion on what we are working for. So, and with a timetable that is in a year and a half, so there is sufficient time for the organization, and also there is sufficient time that the cluster at that point will be so strongly developed that will be very important, a very important moment of in a sense, reality check of what has been happening. From my perspective, the final step to which we have to reach in, at least start reaching in June 14, but definitely we have to be there by the end of the project, is the fact that this cluster, somehow they also have to find a common theme that can bring together all the development and create an overarching theme for the entire project that we can give us the possibility to fulfill one of the final milestones, that is the production of a set of methodological guidelines to do modeling and simulation in social sciences and humanities with a special focus on archaeology. So, and to do this, it's pretty clear we need the effort, the push, the willingness of every single one working in the project. And I know that we are all very busy. I know that we have many other projects. I know that we have teaching, but it's a challenge that we took up a year and a half ago, and I think quite enthusiastically. And it's a challenge that, is not going to be probably repeated, especially with the actual economic situation we have in Spain. Consolider project, they completely disappear. There is not even a program that will replace the consolider. So we are the last of a species in that sense. And we really have to take up that challenge, and really we need to arrive at the end showing how I think when, when we aim very high, even if we don't reach that very much, that aim, even below that, it's still very important. And I say, for me, that's, the engine behind everything. And is the engine that I think should really make us very, energetic in doing this. Where fundamentally we would like to be at the end of this path. Well, consolidate a cluster that has been a cluster or cluster that has been created during the project, and make them a reality of the research scene in Spain. It would be really a pity to close the project and simply all of us go back home and say, okay, that's fine, now we do something else and things like that. I think that one of the important things of this project is really to develop and maintain the network, the connection, the interest we develop together. The other thing is the knowledge of transfer. And say, personally, you all well know my step into modeling and simulation. It's new field for me too, and I sometimes feel very much, in deep water, and but I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning a lot from the various people that are in the project, and I'm learning at thinking in a different way, and I'm learning at acquiring, things that were not there for me in the past, and if that could be made, again, one of the fundamental problems with what we come out from the project would make, I think, would be a very satisfying perspective. And finally, something that is really missing, I think, in the academic environment in Spain is the creation of hybrid research figures. The careers in here are very much set depending on your decision. If you do archaeology, normally you'll be spending many years in doing history, and you come out as a probably very good historian, but the moment they tell you something about, I have no idea, environment or climate or statistic or whatever, there is the first point to say, apart from few exceptions, clearly. But I think that a point that is really fundamental is to train students for looking outside the box, train students in thinking laterally, train students in showing them that you can be, you can be in between two things, and you don't need to be, one or the other, but actually in between, it's very much more interesting than, sitting in one or the other. Now, how we're going to do this? Well, this is the timetable we submitted, and we look at it already many times. And this is a little bit of a summary of this timetable, which is more inherent to this workshop. Say, we had the first part related to the case studies, the phase 1 that basically will be over by the end of the year. And at the moment, we have already started working on the thematic cluster that will take up about 2 years of our project. We fulfilled the milestone 1 in February 2012, and with developing the aims of the case studies and create the first model. Milestone 2, which is at the end of January, we will have to have the first simulation running, the result, the discussion of this, and the publication of this. Milestone 3 will be fundamentally the result of the conferences coming out over the last year, and obviously the next step, in a sense, the tuning of the simulation that has been developed till now. And milestone 4 is the closing down fundamentally with the production of the final volume. Resources and tasks. This shows how the various group, what is the intake of the various group from the total of the funding to the project. It is pretty clear that there is quite an imbalance for the group 1 that is also, in a sense, carrying out all the administrative work. And the rest of the shares is reasonably balanced. What is interesting for me is this is at the end of December 2011, how much of the share of each group has been used. And we can see that there are several groups that haven't touched, and I'm saying end of 2011. So in the last 8 months, things could have changed, but we don't have really at the moment the possibility for the time being to check this part because normally this information comes in at the end of the year. But anyway, some of the group that didn't use the funding for the time being, there was a specific reason. They are groups that they have to step in at a certain moment of the development of the project. So it makes sense that they didn't use that money. It's actually very good that they didn't use it. But other groups, it's pretty clear that they had a late start. And this is not good. This is definitely not good because as you can see, the general idea of the project, is to have moments, and this moment they have a start point and an ending point. And if my group should have done something in here because this is an ending point, and we are here, and that is not there, that becomes a problem not for the group, it becomes a problem for the project. And so it is very important that we keep this calendar. It is very important that all of us have clearly in mind that when this money has to be spent, how this money has to be spent, because I really underline the thing. It is not for the interest of the group, it's for the interest of the project. And unless it's clear in mind, we are not going to reach this with something interesting. So we still have a little bit of leeway for groups that are not there to somehow speed up and try to be there, at the end of the deadline. But this is something that has to be kept very clearly in mind, and is something that has to be discussed. Now, these are the various groups, starting with us. Group 1 with a case study 1, to the best of my knowledge, we managed to do the other day, to do the simulation, and this will be illustrated today by some of the people related to the group. The same for the group 2. There has been a lot of, also based in the CSIC, there has been a lot of energy put in, especially because in that sense, what happened, they had a late start, but then there was really an important acceleration, and so it was possible to arrive today with result to discuss. Group 3, also at the CSIC, it's one of the group that had till the end of December 2011 no expenditure, and I hope that today we will see where we are with the research developed within the group and how this connect within the cluster in which the group is working. But in this sense, it's one of the groups that at the moment should really push on the accelerator and try to get back in track, because otherwise there is the risk of losing the thing behind. Group 5 from the Autonoma has been participating very actively with the case study 1, case study 5. So in that sense, the feedback from that, they don't have a case study. They give feedback on case study. They help the development of case study. Group 6. Group 6 is the only one with 2 case studies, and we definitely have good results from one of the 2, and I guess will be discussed together within the cluster of cooperation, and we are lagging behind with the second case study. And again, that's something that has to be understood what to do next with this. And again, Supercomputing Center, they don't have a case study, but they've been working actively with several groups to develop the models and the simulation. The same with the Universidad de Girona. They have a case study that's been reasonably developed, and I'm pretty curious to see also, you know, what were effectively the next step in the last few months. And Universidad Pompeu Fabra, and again, no case studies, but a lot of work within case studies to sort out the modeling and the simulation. Same for University of Burgos, with also a good feedback on the training together with the last group from the Universidad de Barcelona that also is not related to case study. So you see that what happened in this first phase was that the group with the case studies were somehow the one generating the input, generating, you know, the inroads on where to go and work. There were several groups that were entering into the development of the case studies, but effectively, I think that what we see is also somehow some part that they didn't really kept the tempo that was required, and that could be to several reasons. I mean, in all projects there are, you know, a situation in which we slow down, or, as I was saying at the beginning, it's also true that we had a 35% financial cut with, in theory, the same type of project. So it's definitely not an easy situation to develop. However, my feeling are also that in certain occasion there has been a little bit of a missed opportunity because the first months of the project, at least the first 6 months of the project, in which I guess you remember very well, we had a lot of workshop, a lot of meeting, a lot of, you know, investment of time from all of you. And that moment was developed exactly for a specific reason, which was to make the connection between us, understanding what each one of us does, and giving the possibility to the various groups to say, wow, you know, it would be nice, you know, to get together with those guys over there because, you know, we can do the thing together. And I think that in a sense, maybe part of the delay has been related to this, has been related to the fact of not taking full opportunities of what the project was able to give. And so this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. Take those opportunities. I know it's time. I know it's energy investment. I know. But if we don't do it, we are not going to move forward. So with this, I leave it now to the presentation of the various clusters, which fundamentally will be showing what happened till now, what result we have, and then at the end of each of this cluster presentation, there will be some time to discuss where I you know, hope that we can really get feedback in a general terms. This will be over the 2 days, and then there will be also a general discussion at the end of the 2 days. And so hopefully, you know, out of all this discussion, out of all this feedback, we will be able to really build the basis for the next step. Thank you again for being here, and I think that now I leave it to the cluster with cooperation, correct? Thanks.